The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Coming to you from underneath a peach blossom, it's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work, just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello, BeAuSm listeners, viewers, followers, people that like us on social media, and anybody that's hearing or watching this. I am your host, Joshua Peach, for another episode of the BeAuSm Podcast, and this is a fun one. So the backstory where I am is in the ECAT studio, Easton Community Access Television, which is a local community access TV station in my town of Easton. And they do a lot of community programming, all community programming. And probably 6 or 7 months ago, I got an email from this gentleman, Adam Carreiro, and said, hey, we understand you have a podcast. We'd love for you to come in and check out our studio and see what it's all about. And I came in and they said, we'd love to have you in here doing your podcast, and we'd want to put it on our channel and work with you. And so I did, and I've done a number of episodes, probably 10 at this point, I think. Yeah. And Adam has just been phenomenal. He's just been fantastic. My schedule's crazy. The last episode I recorded, but prior to this was March 31st. I had a system. I had a flawless system up until March 31st, which was find a guest, have them on the podcast, release the podcast. And this year has just been absolutely crazy with travel and busyness. And I have 2 companies, and I'm now vice president of business development for a software company. And so that, coupled with family and everything else, has got a strained schedule. So we've decided to do bulk recordings. We're going to do 4 or 5 recordings at a clip. You'll never know. We'll release them as time goes. We won't even tell you the date, even though it's September 8th. So if there's anything's released in September 8th, then that's 2024 or 2025. But I've been saying this since the beginning. I want Adam on the podcast because he's behind the scenes. He's doing all of the work. And I'm all but certain within 24 or 48 hours from now, I'll have all the raw files of these recordings today, because the guy seems to work tirelessly. And I want to have him in front of the camera, on the mic, to tell us his story. I also want to know about the inner workings of what goes on, because I see you push a lot of buttons and you turn a lot of dials. I don't know what any of that stuff does. And I'll never touch any of the buttons or dials, but I would like to, just to see the power, because I think you wield a lot of power on the keyboard back there. But first and foremost, Adam, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for all the work that you do for the BeAuSm Podcast. Yeah, no, it's nice to get variety of podcasts is one of those things that's growing, and now it's just not audio, it's now video being podcast, doing podcasts. So to have something on that environment keep growing around, it's helping out. Yeah. So how did you get into audio video? I guess let's step back. What do you do? What is your kind of scope of? It seems like you do. I've asked you to do a couple of different things. Yeah. Right. Adam's you gave me your cell phone probably by accident, and now I just call him hey, do you think you can do this? Do you think you can do this? And you're oh yeah, I can figure it out. And you have every challenge I've given, you've been, and it's not just clicking record. It's it's been some. How do I download this, or how do I put this here? So it seems like you can do just about anything around audio video. So what do you do here, and how did you get here? What got you passionate about this work?
Yeah, wow, that's a really loaded question. Yeah, just because the way technology has gone too, it's so a broad brushstroke that you can say one thing and it can mean a millions of things. Mm-hmm. With audio video. But for ECAT, I'm the director of community media. Mm-hmm. So basically it's just handling scheduling, getting programs going, anything that's happening in the town, kind of just to broadcast either live stream events or putting stuff on the channel. Mm-hmm. But it's how I got up to here. It's a total I think before COVID, it probably wasn't going down this path, and it turned totally different. So I started in high school, sophomore year, just taking photography class, walking around the school, just taking pictures just for a class assignment. And my teacher says, "Oh, you like taking pictures?" I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty fun doing it for class." He goes, "Oh, the school newspaper is looking for sports photography. I run the newspaper. Do you mind just going to the game, taking pictures for us? You don't have to write, just take pictures." "Oh, yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Took pictures and would go into her office and be like, "Oh, can you just load up the pictures in the spaces for the paper?" Start doing that. She was not only the English teacher, she was also the TV teacher. So her office was connected to the TV studio. Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And then slowly came in. It's like, "Oh yeah, you can." At the time, it was only juniors and seniors that could take it. I was like, "Yeah, next year you can sign up and start doing it." So started doing it. And at that time, it was my class and the senior class just had a bunch of kids just like, "Oh, this is kind of fun. Like, what else can we do?" And taught like the inner workings. And back then, this is 99, 2000, still dealing with VHS tapes. Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, you take VHS tapes and doing like the digital's just starting to come in. Yeah. And at the time, there was no local cable access in town, right? This is down in Fairhaven, Mass. So the school ran the educational channel. So anything we did at the school, we controlled. So a lot of times there's bulletin board stuff going up. Yeah. But every classroom had a TV, so we did morning announcements. So our morning announcements would go in all the classrooms, but also go out to the town. So like people would see our morning announcements. So if your kid wasn't in school, or if you want to know what is my kid doing or what is the school doing, you could watch the morning announcements, and we just did like a news program. Wow. So we did that all through the school year, and come the summertime, the teacher was like, "Hey, if you guys want to," because she's like, "I can come in there in the summertime if you guys want to do this throughout the summer." So we ended up doing it through the summer, and it became like a town news program. We would go to like the town events and just start showcasing that and interviewing like the select board or the sports director, athletic director at the time during the summertime. It's like, "Oh, what are you doing this summer? What's happening next year?" And just started like that. And there was like 6 of us in my class, and I think another 5 in the upper class. And we basically were as our own team and going through that. And then the teacher was like, "Well, if you guys really like this, I'll start talking to colleges and we'll go do trips." And we went to like BU and a couple other schools. And one school we went to was down Rhode Island, New England Tech. And they had a program there. And going to that college, it was more, they're already talking about being hands-on right away. It wasn't like, oh, you would go in for a year and it's all theory stuff and you start like reading books and going logistics. Like New England Tech was like, no, you go right away on the camera and start doing stuff. So went there and got my associate's degree in TV and radio production, and then stayed and got my bachelor's degree in digital recording arts. And then after that,
that's an interesting time.
Yeah,
because you're saying like that you're what you're learning is about to be obsolete in many ways, right? When you talk about VHS tapes, how you were editing, how you stored, how you recorded, how you did everything, it was transitioning from that type of technology to stored technology on servers and DVDs, and I'm sure there were different processes. But before that, was your high school program, what you were doing, was that like a promoted, approved program, or was that just a teacher that was managing the school cable access channel? Like, and I asked this question because it's very interesting. I had this conversation. I was asked because what you have is a for lack of a better word, a skilled labor expertise, right? Skilled labor expertise. Just in the construction and facility side of the United States right now, skilled labor, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, the people that build things, there's a 3 million person gap of skilled labor expertise. It's probably a skilled labor expertise gap with audio, visual, and TV and digital. And I was asked on another podcast yesterday, how do we fill that gap? And one of my answers was, get kids going at an earlier age, like get programming, get actual hands-on programming in place. And so this is the first time that I heard a public school, especially a small public school. Fairhaven's a small public school down near New Bedford.
Yeah.
On the water, beautiful community. But I wouldn't have thought that they would have had an established program even with 6 kids. So was this something that was in the curriculum, or was this just something a teacher said, hey, there might be some kids that want to do this and I'm going to show them?
I think it started like that because some of the equipment was from the old cable access that Comcast ran and shut it down. So some of the equipment was like that. So when I went, so this is 2001, 2002, it was only junior, senior, a couple of kids. Then my brother and sister went to the high school in 2006. And by that time it grew to bigger and you can take it from freshman to senior.
Yep.
So I caught it like at the building stage of it and going up. And like some schools do have still the building of it. It's like a small electives. A teacher kind of takes care of it. But there's some schools that are big doing it. Like I don't know the grades, but Oliver Ames has a decent size.
That was going to be my next question, because I know that they do have like a news channel.
Yep. So they have a decent size curriculum that does it. But the middle school, they have some equipment, but they just have a club, and it's I don't think they really do it.
Are you involved with this program, or are they independent on their own?
The middle school is somewhat independent because they're just starting to go out. Like I helped them up, and a couple of us went down just to show them how the equipment was used and kind of showcase what they could do, and they're building it. But it's kind of very coincidence. The teacher at Oliver Ames, we both went to the same college.
Oh, okay.
When I was taking my bachelor's, he was doing his associates, so we crossed paths and everything else. We know the same people there, and he's building up the courses and that too for it. But there's like some schools out there, and a lot of it is dealing with the town, like the city of New Bedford has a cable access station, but the city kind of supports it, and not just supports it, but it kind of sort of runs it. So they receive funding. While like us here, we're a nonprofit, so we don't receive any funding from the town. We just we get the support, so the town will allow us to do whatever, but we don't receive any funding from it. So really, we just
you're not a budget line item on the town's town's budget. Which is something that people don't typically understand. They think that because it's got the word Easton in it, and you're in an Easton building on Oliver Street, which is beautiful, that it's part of the Easton budget program, and you're not. I've learned a little bit about you guys over the last year, and it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, the work that you pull off here, the amount of work, the amount of programming. It's like you're everywhere. I mean, if there isn't an event that happens in town that you're not at, you do the sporting events. You were doing the was it Wednesday night?
The summer concerts.
The summer concerts, which were awesome. They already decided they're going to do that next year, because I didn't get to go to a single one. I think I was gone every Wednesday this summer.
Really?
But it just looked amazing.
And it's that's grown even more, because I remember last year coming out of COVID, they might have had like 4 shows, and the library might have had like 1 or 2. And this year, the library and the Oaksam Hall each had like 6 shows. And they were like, some of the Wednesdays were back to back against each other, but like almost every Wednesday, you can see it.
I got to tell you, it was great, because I consider her my mother-in-law. My fiance's mother was at one of them, and I was watching it live, and she won the 50-50 raffle.
Oh, awesome.
So I was able to text her immediately and say, hey, I got a flat tire and I need a quick $400. Can you help me out? And she didn't know what I was talking about, and I was able to play the joke on her. But it was really, you guys did such a great job filming that you could watch it from home, and you just felt like you were there. And that's a tough. I'm not an audio-visual expert. You make me sound really good, so I thank you. But that's got to be a tough, acoustic-wise. That's an open space. The Rockery is a historic building. They're up on the top of the hill, we'll call it, but up by the entrance of the building, and you've got to do all that stuff. And the sound was phenomenal. Like that's not all just plug and play easy stuff, is it? I mean, I know technology's getting better, but it can't be just like, hey, let me just take my iPhone. I just figured out how to take pictures of the moon on my iPhone.
Oh, okay.
With the delayed and all that. I've had, since this iPhone came out in 2007, if I ever took a picture of the moon up until 3 weeks ago, it was just like this weird dot.
You can tell it looked like a light.
It looked like I took a picture of a speck of dirt on the floor of my truck.
Yeah. So a lot of like some of the bands had their own sound system, so we didn't have to throw like 5 mics to try to capture the sound. We can go through their sound system, but they're also like setting up the sound for the person in front of them to hear. So they might not have everything come out of the speaker because it might be too loud. So they might have a couple things come out of the speaker and then you naturally hear stuff. Yeah. So what we got to do is plug into the sound system, get some of that audio, then put in mics and spots to catch like another part of the band and put that in audio and try to level everything out so you can hear everything equally. Yeah. So it's a lot of like with EQ stuff and the audio board. Yeah.
I messed with that once, and it made my sound made me sound terrible. So that's why I asked. Like, I know it's not that easy. I've brought a number of people in here. I think 4 or 5 just today. And one of the things that's evident is your passion. Like when people come in here, this is your house. Yeah. Right. And when people come in here, you're like, hey, let me show you the studio. Let me show you the green room, the green newsroom, which is amazing. I want to do something there. I don't know what. I want to do something there at some point. It's just like a cool space and there's cameras everywhere. But you have an amazing passion for what you do. Did you always have that passion? Do you know when you got that passion? Was it when you were a junior in high school and you're like, this is really cool? Was it when you were going for your bachelor's? Was it a story that you did? What do you know when that overpowering passion of this is what I want to live for a legacy and I want to leave a legacy in? Where did that come from? Do you think about that at all?
It's not so much like the TV aspect of like getting a camera shooting stuff. Mm-hmm. It's more the creativity of it, because really like, and like we tell people like this, like if you have an idea of the show, just come talk to us. Well, your idea might not sound right, but you might be just saying it with the wrong words and we can do it. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of times, like, and people like think of like this cable access as this like, oh, it's just Marv next door just coming in and doing a show. Yeah. And really it's just like, yeah, you can have somebody come in and say like, I want to do a show about teaching kids good things, but I'm just going to use puppets and we're just going to imagine a world. Yeah. And you might think, oh, that's kind of a weird show, but then that's Mr. Rogers right there. And everybody loves Mr. Rogers. Right. It's just how you get creative and how you showcase that. So I think it's more on that angle to be like, no, this is like open space. Like you can do like anything here and what can be creative of doing it. Yeah. So it's more that than like the technical of, we're setting up a camera this way. We're going to light it up so your skin's not shiny. We're going to backlight do this and all that technical stuff is good to know, but it's not something that's like, oh, that's what I do. Yeah. It's just like, no,
you're creative genius.
Yeah. It's like, no, this show is like this. It's like a show about going overseas and just showing the culture or learning about like what to do on like this aspect of it, or getting somebody that's in town that you didn't know, like organizations like what you do, like just get people like you didn't know these organizations do stuff. Yeah. So it's just like showcasing like what's out there in the world.
Yeah. It's and you know, I think you and I have talked about it, and I've always been a fan of Easton Cable Access. It's kind of funny because I've been watching it since I was the remote control at my house. We had the cable boxes where you had to go up and push the button. And, you know, you guys had Tuesday night trivia for a Papagino's gift card. And there was a keyed phone that was in the middle of 2 seats. And, you know, that was basically trivial pursuit questions that you called in for the answer for that you couldn't Google. And the Lions Club auction that you did every year. And I've been a fan of what you do all along for a number of town meetings, right? I can't watch town meetings a lot of times because I'm traveling, but I can watch in for you guys. And it's a legit operation. And kind of when you talk about, you know, the puppet show and it's Mr. Rogers, I think that there's a lot of programming that happens in local cable access. And the great example is, whether it's a true story or not, which it probably isn't, is Wayne's World. The Wayne's World movie, which is the two guys in their basement, and they were on local cable access, and it gets picked up nationally. And hey, who knows? This could get picked up, national. I mean, you never know where it's going to go. But the bottom line is, there's great people like you and the team that put these programmings together. And you're just saying, hey, bring what you got, come as you are. We'll figure out how to make it look and work as best as possible. And that's pretty cool, because I think that there's a lot of people. Like, I looked at all the posters out in the hallway. I can't wait to have mine. I will be worthy.
Yeah.
I will be worthy. But there's this hallway, for those of you that haven't been in the studio, which is probably a lot of you. There's a hallway, and it's got all of the different programming that they've got going on, posters of the different programs and programming and people. And there's a lot. And it's a wide variety of, travel and gifts from beyond, or is that what it is? There's some. Whispers of the Other Side. Whispers on the Other Side.
Yeah, Spirit Median. She has a call-in show.
Yeah. So you've got travel from spirits of the medium. That's pretty wide variety and everything in between. How do you guys? How many people are there as part of the program? Because you got a couple of vans, right, that go out and do the remote recordings. I'm assuming you're doing all of the local sporting events. You have fixed cameras in the auditorium, right?
Yeah, we have fixed cameras in the town office, the school auditorium, and the school lecture hall that they do school committee meetings. We have one van that is capable of having the cameras hook up to it, and it has its own audio system. But with technology that's just getting so much easier, a lot of times it's the guys, like a group of guys is driving to one area. They carry the camera equipment. It's cameras plugged into a laptop, and the laptop is streaming back to the studio. So it's really like three guys, laptop, 2 cameras, and that's the event, and maybe an audio board.
And how are you guys communicating from here to over there? Just by phone?
Yeah, text messages, like if there's any issues.
Wow.
Other than that, there's stuff that we can go on the back end on the laptop and see and do, like scheduling stuff, or if there's something that needs to get reprogrammed here for it to be on the channel, we can do that on the laptop. Because the companies that made, like, we use Telview as our company here, they have like back channel like websites that you can log in and adjust settings and that to do it. So technology is really like changed it.
So that was
to make it so much easier.
That's what I was transitioning to. You're saying technology makes it so much easier. I just got a laptop with Windows 11 or whatever the latest one is.
Yeah.
That isn't the 5-year-old version that I had, Windows 10 or 9, and I'm lost in space. And you're saying it makes it easier. How do you keep up? I mean, you must have to educate yourself daily on what's new, what's out there, what's coming down the pike. Like, you must be spending it, because technology is moving faster than it ever was. And it's not just like little shifts. It's like, boom, this is a completely different, like I use, it's not even called Melon App anymore, but I used to use this product called Melon App that was allowed me to do live LinkedIn, live YouTube from my office, and it was really just easy. It was like plug and play, push a button, you're good. They get acquired, change the whole platform like overnight, and I'm completely lost. And meanwhile, I'm doing a live recording and I don't even know it because I hit play by accident, and I was trying to just do a schedule thing. So I'm on LinkedIn like this, like an idiot, going, I can't believe I did this. And so how hard is that to keep up with it, and how big of a shift is things happening with those technologies for your work?
A lot of it's depending on the quality and logistics of stuff. Like, we could technically still use old cameras and always bring out the van and still get a production out.
Yeah.
But it's all like, all right, if we do the van has to be parked here, and we're going to run the cords all the way this way. Mm-hmm. So learning technology, it's like, oh, well, we don't need to physically connect the camera anymore. It's the wireless systems work just as good as connecting to it. So now we can go wireless. The van can be on one side of the field and we'll have the camera on the other side of the field and still do it that way, connecting. So it's not so much getting behind the eight ball to do a production. It's being behind the eight ball to do a better quality production, to get a bigger production, because the technology is making it help you make it easier.
Well, yeah,
and get more variety of stuff.
And you're not just doing this to do it; you're doing it to raise audience and awareness, right? So if you have older, if you have older equipment that's not 1080p XYZ, latest and greatest that you can see every thread on a soccer ball, or you don't have the quality audio video. That's the number one reason why people stop listening to podcasts is bad audio. Yeah, right. If you've got great content, great presentation, but your audio stinks, nobody's going to listen to it. They just won't. I mean, I've got one episode I talked about in an earlier episode with David Cooks, which was hands down some of the best content we did. It was like my 5th episode I ever did, and we had such ridiculous background noise because we did it in the middle of the busiest Starbucks in Madison, Wisconsin, because it was the only place we could do it. And I don't do any editing. I don't do anything. If I could drown out that background noise, I bet you could probably do that, couldn't you?
I could probably do it, yeah.
If I got rid of that raw, if I gave you the raw file,
we could probably play.
You could probably get rid of the carnival that's going on in the background, and that could actually be a good podcast.
No, yeah, probably not totally. Maybe totally. I can't say.
I'm going to challenge you right now, right on the podcast. You're not going to release this until after you do it, but I'm going to challenge you to the David Cooks podcast, because that was great. It was great, but it was bad. It was bad call, and people said it. They're like, I wish I could have heard that better. Yeah, because I know that there was great stuff to that podcast, and it was like, oh, okay. I now know what to do. It's be in a quiet space because I don't know how to edit or do anything. Like right now, the HVAC is running right in this room, and it's pretty loud. Like you can hear it, I can hear it. Yeah. But we won't hear it on the podcast like we're hearing it now.
No.
which that's the difference between knowing your stuff and not knowing your stuff, and that's pretty impressive.
And even just how people view stuff now too. Yeah. So if you have an older, to get the quality up, you probably need the newer cameras to get a little crisper pictures, so people watching on their phone, they can see it easier and don't have to squint because they don't need a big screen TV to view it too. Oh yeah. No. So the way people are taking in the media too that's kind of why you got to improve.
Yeah, I've got all the latest and greatest. I mean, I reached out to, there's a keynote speaker that I got to be acquainted with, Brett Culp, who is he's a filmographer. I guess that's what you call him. Yeah. And during COVID, I was like, I'll do a home studio, which was basically my basement with a white screen or a green screen. And I reached out to him like, what kind of camera do I need? And he gave me the top camera with a converter and all the stuff.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. Got the best equipment in the world. If you don't know what you're doing, it's not that good.
Yeah.
I got an Owl Labs 360 camera. Have you seen that yet?
An Owl Labs?
It's called Owl Labs. It's a tower speaker camera. I should have brought it. It's like this tall. Yep. It's probably 12, 15 inches tall. And at the top of it, it's got a 360-degree camera. Okay. And so I'd stick it right in the middle between us. Yep. And I'd be talking, and it would have just me. And then when you talk, it would split screen. And it would have the two of us talking to each other with a panoramic of all 360 degrees above.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty cool. I don't know how to use it. But it's cool. And I'll figure out how to make it at least work the basic function of how it's supposed to. But yeah, it just chirps at me right now. I think it's on the mute button. It's telling me that it's muted. I don't know. So, curious, is there like a most memorable or one of most memorable events or stories or programs that you did that you were just like, either, wow, we really just crushed it. Like that's like award-winning content, or it was just like such a powerful thing. Like, was it a championship game or a play or one of those wonderful selectmen meetings that everybody talks, the politic fights or something that was like, this was awesome.
There's always, before I really got into doing this as a full time, I've geez, I was a store manager for like 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Gillette Stadium for security. So working in the public, I've kind of just, you see it all working in the public and meeting all different people. I don't think there's been a show, but like just with sports, for one season, I ran Stonehill College's streaming for their games and all their social media. And it was like the last time they were doing D2 before they got up to D1.
Yeah.
And then that year, like the basketball team went to the conference championship, and then the lacrosse team won their championship, and they were hosting the NCAA tournament down here in Stonehill. So I just going through the events, I don't take like, oh wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's just like, man, this is just opportunity, just like to do that. Cause I just,
well, you can't get caught up in the moments when they happen because you've got a job to do.
Right. Yeah. You just kind of just realize it. And it's in working involving sports too, kind of teaches you like, oh, this is a moment. Okay. Just work with it. And you kind of like can absorb it in, but like I kind of like not train my mind, but kind of realize like, keep working on it, but like this is something like that's happening. Yeah. So you kind of like catch that moment up. Yeah. That's kind of like the one thing that's like a benefit with sports. Also with sports, it's just like one shot opportunity. Like you gotta get this. If not, like you can't redos. Yeah. So like the pressure cooker of that too, like kind of doing any sports that it's kind of helped me this is an event, let's go and just go with it.
I didn't ask this question, and it's probably a stupid one. This isn't your first podcast.
No.
3-season veteran. I figured
a little bit.
I never saw you on camera until the Wednesday night thing. I'd asked you to do this, 6-7 months ago whenever we first started. I said, we got to get you on the podcast one of these days. And I never asked, like, how often are you on the other side of the camera or you're on the microphone. I never asked that, but I never saw it. I've watched a bunch of programs, and then a couple of weeks ago, I think I called you and I'm like, hey, there you were. I saw you on TV. There you were, doing a report. So
this past summer we've like a lot, like for a while it's like, oh no, we're just behind the scenes. And like this past like summer, like all the guys actually, we've just been making programs. Like we brought back old time TV and old time movie. Yeah. So we find movie or TV shows that's in the public domain. Mm-hmm. We each take a turn hosting an episode. So we pick something from it. We do a little intro. We air whatever it is, and then we do an outro. Yeah. And then we tell like, oh, this episode's this, so everybody watches it, and then we get like 4 of us in here, and we do radio cast, and we just talk about that TV show or that movie.
If you ever have chips on, let me know.
No, that's not public domain.
Oh man, we got to work on that.
Now, and sometimes it's only like one episode. Like Joe got Mr. Ed. There was like one episode. Yeah. And then a couple like specials they were doing like for
I forgot
like
about Mr. Ed.
Yeah, they were doing like saving bonds. Yeah. On it. What else? Some of the whole series, like for some reason Beverly Hillbillies are the whole seasons on public domain. But sometimes we just get one episode. Like we just did Three Stooges. Yeah. Because they had a couple episodes public domain.
All those episodes are the same.
Dragnet. Yeah.
They just beat each. They get hit with hammers every episode, and
So we do radio casts and we talk about that. We do the Easton News. Yeah. And we have like a little bit of rotation now going with the Easton News.
How often is that on?
Weekly.
Okay.
So we do that weekly. Yeah. So we're constantly updating the sports, the news stories. We put together a script for it. We do the weather. Wow. So, yeah.
Yeah. The weather. Might rain, could be sunny. That's it. Get it right or get it wrong.
It's a little bit vague like that because so it airs on Friday and we try our best to tape it on Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon. Yeah. So like I write the script for the weather, so I'm writing it Wednesday night to tape it Thursday. Yeah. And by that time, it's already weather's already changed for the following week.
Yeah, you would have been wrong for this Friday because we weren't supposed to get any rain. It was supposed to be 90 and sunny, just like it was 95 and sunny yesterday, and we drove over here. It was raining. I said, "Where's this coming from?"
Yeah.
Nobody told me about this.
No, and then like this week, and it's like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be mainly rain. And yeah, it's more Western Mass, not Eastern Mass. Yeah. That's why percentage is for the whole state.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. That percentage is not for, unless you dial in directly into your community. That's not a percentage of rain.
No.
That's a percentage of rain for your state or for a geographical area, I think, which is kind of crazy. No, well, this has been great. This has been insightful. I could tell it wasn't your first podcast, but it's the first podcast with me. We'll have to do this again. I can't thank you enough. You've taken, this year has been one of those interesting. I went from a company that I was able to help grow from basically a handful of employees to 600. And through that time, there were a lot of hands involved and a lot of people rowing the oars. These episodes caught up to my voice. Here it is. I'm losing it. But when I started BeAuSm 5 years ago, I don't know if it was stubbornness. I don't know if it was wanting to prove something, but I was determined to do everything on my own. And that was becoming, a bookkeeper, an accountant, a social media expert, a camera person, a podcast person, a public speaker, all these different things. And maybe it's my age, maybe it's something else, but this year has been an incredible feeling of appreciation and gratitude for anybody that's saying, hey, I want to help you. I want to take some weight. Mark Resnick, who was on the podcast here this morning, guys removed a ton of weight from my day-to-day of shipping shirts and things, which I'd love to do, but it was time consuming. I'm not good at it. And I can't thank you enough for, one, giving me your time, because it is valuable. And you've been more than accommodating. You've never said no. And then when I got sick in August, we were supposed to do this series of recordings in August, and I got sick the day or two before, and I sent you a text and I said, hey, sorry, I can't make it. Nope, no worries. And you could have been mad at me. You should have been mad at me. I was mad at myself. I couldn't believe I was sick. I was like, this is terrible. But I can't thank you enough for all that you and your entire team. Joe, thanks for stepping in here. We'll get you on one of these days. Joe's nodding his head in the background there. I think he's, no, I can't thank you enough for all that you do and making this podcast next level, making it something that's even more special than it was. And I hope to continue this relationship for a long time to come. And anything I can ever do to support you guys and acknowledge or recognize or tell the world how great you are. You guys are the epicenter of public access, local cable television, right? We get the why that is. We got all these great things in Easton. But thank you for doing all that you do and coming on here. I think we'll have some fun. We'll have the next series of podcasts. 4 or 5 people come in here, and we'll have another pizza party. So appreciate you.
Yeah, especially with this here with ECAT, it's like I said, we're a nonprofit, so we try just to get just a variety of stuff just to showcase like what can be on TV, because there's some cable accesses just they don't have the funding or the staff, so it's really just meetings and a couple things here and there. So we only have 3 full-timers, a couple part-timers, and just volunteers. But we're just lucky that these part-timers and volunteers are all into it and want to do shows and want to go out. So that's why we have the capabilities to go to all the events. But a lot of times is this we try to get sponsors just so we can keep funding and keep upgrading some of the stuff to get more variety of stuff inside the studio. But a lot of times, like at least for the Easton residents, if they just go to our website, eastoncat.org, they can stream what we're seeing, what we're airing on the channels, and see what's on demand and what's coming up. Or they can contact us, and if they have a show idea or a podcast idea, like redoing this room, it's just jumped in the past year, and we have monthly, weekly, once in a while kind of shows here and there. We do Zoom interviews out of this room too, and everything. Yeah,
and you've turned this from this was the radio room.
Yeah.
And now this is you've put it together as a podcast room. I think you got some work you're going to be doing on it too at some point, right?
A little bit in this room. The big studio is what we're really gonna overhaul and upgrade.
You should figure out getting a sponsor to do the podcast room
and name it after him.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah,
you could, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. If you're a local business and you want to sponsor this, it'd be really cool. I'm just brainstorming here, but it'd be really cool is if Southeastern Regional built this as a project. You got sponsors to pay for the materials, and the regional can construction students came in and built out a podcast studio, because I'm guessing that's a pretty popular thing right now. See, now we might be on something. Yeah. Now we just brainstorm something publicly, and you can edit or not edit this and take it out. But I think it just came up with probably the most genius idea of the week. So, but this is great. How do people get a hold of you if they want to do that program? Or if they want to sponsor, should they contact you? Should they contact somebody else? Just go to the website.
Yeah, they can just go to info@eastoncat.org. Okay. That's the email, and that goes to everybody. So
one of us will see it. That's in the show notes, and that way people can get a hold of you. And this has been great. This has been a great relationship. I hope it's been good for you guys.
Yeah.
You make it seem like it is, so I'm just going to continue to keep showing up. Yeah. And this will be another episode. This is the last of. God, been here for, what have I been here for? 4.5 hours? 4.5, 5 hours. This has been a great experience, but I got to go rest the old vocal cords because I'm off Monday to speak in the great state of New Jersey. So that'll do it here. Thank you again, my friend. You're going to be back in the big seat over where Joe is next time I see you, I'm sure, with 4 or 5 more folks. As always, 5-star rating and reviews for the BeAuSm Podcast is always greatly appreciated. It makes a difference. It helps our ratings. We're at 3%. I want to be in the top 1%. I want to put BeAuSm on the map, and I want to put ECAT on the map by saying that I got from the top 3% to the top 1%. I couldn't have done it without these guys. And that's regardless of where I am. I can't do any of this stuff without them. But the 5-star rating and review, share with your friends, follow. Questions, concerns, complaints, josh@beawsm.com. I always respond to anything good, bad, or ugly. I can't get better if I don't know what I'm not doing good enough. And as always, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day.
Coming to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, see the jerk.